My goodness, there were a lot of emotions in that piece. Wow, it was darkness and challenge and it evoked so much. Tell me something about.
Well, I'll tell you a story that
I'd love a story
that my mother tells. She said that so she used to play a dulcimer. Do you know what a dulcimer is?
Is that one of those harps that
it's like
this?
It's a 4-string. Maybe you play it like that.
I don't know.
Maybe you do.
No. I was thinking of one that had a whole bunch of strings and that. I don't.
No. It's not one of those Indian instruments that I'm aware of, but it's like a long kind of oval-shaped thing that sits on your lap. And There's 4 strings, and I think it came into popularity probably in like the 70s. For some reason, I don't know what the history is, but anyways, she played it and she would play songs on it, and I think a lot of her lullabies that she would sing were in a minor key, and she said that every time she would play in a minor key, I would start crying, and from like a very, 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 very early age, and I've always been drawn to the minor keys.
Yes.
Which is what this little thing.
Now, tell me, as a non-musician learning to be, and in episode 1, it was so neat because you connected me. You said you have music in you, and that was wonderful because that's something I've been denying in me. So I'm learning. This is part of what I want to be in the studio with you, is to teach me, help me to discover that part of myself. So, go back. Major key, minor key, difference, what does that mean?
Okay. So, a minor key, we'll just start with the very basics.
Yes.
You have, we'll start with white notes.
Mm-hmm. On a piano.
White keys on a piano. There are 8 notes in a scale.
Mm-hmm.
And a scale is just, I don't know if I could get into the super technical aspects of what it is, but it repeats every 8 notes. So we start on this note. And then it repeats. So these are all the same note. And each of those notes are called steps.
Mm-hmm.
And the interval, the distance between the first note and the third note, the first step and the third step, defines whether it's a major or minor key. So wherever you are on the keyboard, it's called either a major third or a minor third, 3 notes. And so the major third sounds like this. And a minor third sounds like this. And the only difference is the third note is dropped a half a step. This is like, I'm trying to summarize this.
Sure. Sure, and something that Dennis can understand.
Yeah. So basically, when you hear this interval, I think like, oh, happy, happy. Culturally, that's what is programmed.
Mm-hmm.
When I hear this,
It's very dramatic.
Yeah. It's a little more dramatic, and to me it's like a little more contemplative. So I don't necessarily associate it with sad or angry or like the typical programming that I've experienced in the world of Western music.
Right.
I think of it as just more contemplative,
Right.
more emotional, maybe. But it can also be happy.
Yeah.
Just depending on what kind of rhythmic twist I put on it.
And so you learned and grew in, you began playing, and then you started playing in the major and then the minor. I mean, is this a style or difference in choices, or how do you frame that so I'll understand it more?
I don't know.
Am I even asking the right question?
I mean, I think when I started piano, I didn't have any lessons at first, and I'm sure I stumbled across the minor keys.
Sure.
Without really knowing it. But I think once I learned the difference between major and minor from my first teachers, then I think I was like more drawn to the minor keys and the more minor sounds. So that was an easy starting point for me. And I knew that I was going to start in the minor key when I put my hands down.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where it was going, and the first few moments of when I was playing, I didn't really like what I was doing, where it was going, because I hit notes that weren't in my head. I was like, yeah, that's not what I was thinking. But I just went with it and followed it. I mean, for me, a lot of times I get stuck in a rut like this. That can be a rut because it's kind of already a template defined in my mind. And so I gravitate towards that as a default. And it's beautiful.
Oh, it is.
And emotional, and I can just like rest into it. But it can be a crutch as well. And so that's why I'm trying to start playing in keys that are uncomfortable for me, because it forces me outside of that box a little bit.
How cool. How cool. And so is this part of the growth of your consciousness? Because I think about this as an artist and as a human being and as a male. How do we grow? How do we become better? How do I actually become better, stronger, clearer, more curious, more, and why would I even want to do that? And I love the way you frame that in ruts, because I will tend to fall into ruts, the familiar path, and I will think that I'm not. I think but I'm only following that familiar path rather than being willing to stray out of that in every aspect of thinking, including my judgment of others, and which primarily roots from the judgment of myself.
Yeah. I think I had some thoughts and then I lost it.
Yeah.
But
what is in your current songwriting, in the places where you are? What have you been in the last, since episode 1? What kinds of?
Let me get to that. I wanted to just respond to the word you used, familiar, which is a way this book that I'm reading, Effortless Mastery. He's recommending reframing hard music as unfamiliar and easy music as familiar. And so like familiarity is the space of mastery.
Who is this that wrote this?
Kenny Werner.
Kenny Werner.
Piano player.
Effortless Mastery.
Yeah.
All right. And so it's familiar and unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That makes it so much, that's more accessible to my...
Yeah. And so getting to a point of mastery is getting to a place where what I'm doing is familiar. And so, I mean, what happened in the beginning moments of when I started is I started in a key that's unfamiliar, this right here. Usually I'll play that little thing. I'll play it in a key that's more familiar to me. But I started in a different key. It was unfamiliar at first. And as I slowed down, I just let myself go really slow. The slower I go, the closer I get to familiarity. I feel like it's like the jumping point to familiarity is... Yeah, that's a metaphor for that.
That is wonderful.
That's been like actually interesting. The slower I go, the closer I am to familiarity. Which is something I have been acutely aware of since I injured my back. Did I tell you about this?
Nope.
Okay, so I injured my back probably 2 weeks ago. We were out on a nature walk, and I bent down under like a fallen tree. We all kind of went under, and as I lifted my back up like this, I just felt it go, and I was like, oh shit, I can't stand up straight. I need to go lay down. So I laid down on a log for a while, and then hobbled back like almost, probably a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile back to our truck. And the next several days I was just out on my back, not really able to do anything. But as I started to get a little bit more mobility, I noticed how I move is like really frenetic and really out of, like, not in a place of mastery and not in a place of being centered, like balance-wise. But so I'll do this thing where I'll be, especially around food, this is where I get like real crazy. I'll be like chopping something, and then I'll reach for the fridge and then be like, and then like my whole weight is already going towards the fridge, and I like reach back. I have these freaking long ass arms. I'll reach back and grab something off the counter and put it in the fridge and do this like contortion that's totally outside of myself. I'm just like flailing.
Great.
But I didn't know that I do that until like I had an injury to like slow it down enough for me to see it in real time. And my back will tell me like, nope, can't do that. So like it just brought some awareness to like focusing on what's right in front of me, and like having this, my center of gravity, starting with my center of gravity, and doing what's right in front of me instead of like what's over here or what's over here.
So let's apply that
Yeah.
across our lives. I'm thinking speaking. How can I pay attention to what is about to come out of my mouth so that I actually have a buffer and know a millisecond before, and I can for example, substitute a word instead of a filler word that I might put in there, an or an or a so or a like or any of the other words that I use. I've been doing exactly the same thing by reading aloud. I read aloud to Melissa every night. And by reading aloud, I actually practice speaking because I'm slowing down. This particular book I'm reading works beautifully to read slowly. Reteaching myself. And I do the same thing. I turned a corner last night too quickly and skinned on a little cube. We have a cube in our living room, and just skin it, all because I was getting off of my center. I wasn't in that and just going from one room to another, I can either be in that place or I can be out of it and being ahead of myself and flailing.
Yeah. And so when you were talking about familiarity and how it relates and how I see it relating to mastery, but then also stepping into change as a human being, like bettering myself.
Thank you.
I feel like there has to be a step into unfamiliarity. But when my weight is over my feet, then I can try and move over here. They're like, no, wrong step. Oop, wrong step. I can try something on the piano that's like, oh. That's the one I was looking for. And so then my stepping into unfamiliarity is more of a like adventure in curiosity rather than like bumping into the wall or tweaking my back.
Do you use your music to teach you about life?
I mean, I just did this morning when I was practicing some of my effortless mastery warm-ups, which is really just doing what you saw me do, where I like bring my hand onto the keyboard, take some breaths, find my center of gravity. And this is what I learned this morning is I think the goal is to be like very smooth with all the movements. And in one video that I saw him like coaching some other people, he talks about like using the breath like to like breathe in and then play a note. And what I was noticing is if I let my breath be the like initiator, like I can feel it when I'm forcing the note versus when I'm letting my hand drop. And so if I let my breath pull my finger up, so if I'm doing my thumb and I go and then hold it for a second and then let my breath bring the thumb down. So I go. So let the breath like initiate. It feels like it's just following my breath instead of me going like, see how I kind of like pop it up and pop it down. It feels forced and mechanical, but when I let the breath like go. it's smoother.
Nice.
So letting my breath lead with my breath.
And then applying this in all of your music, and I mean, this is where the growth of art. I think about this. Any artist that I see, any painter, any sculptor, any performer, we work on our art. We work on what we're doing. But I expand it to life. I don't see anything that isn't art. Mm-hmm. Human being, a life lived is a life of an artist. Every single one of us is creating at every moment. We are co-creating this reality, and we're having it, and it appears as if I'm bound or shackled or being pushed by or have other obligations that are outside of myself. I don't know that that's any different than, okay, you have 88 keys here. This is the playing field. You get a chance. There are not 99 keys or 175, there are 88. And within this particular framework, you get a chance to express your art. So within my particular framework of this 70-year-old white male experience that I'm having, and I get to express my art. I get to express myself, and how graciously can I express myself? What can I do within this particular playing field that I've been given?
Are you asking me?
No, I don't know. I was just I was more pontificating than I was asking. How do we do? We've got 25. We got to play out. Well, all right.
Well, I was thinking about the breath. Just one last time.
Would you please?
And like something that I do a lot is chopping vegetables, and it's very much like playing.
Yes.
There's the up movement and the down movement, and I feel like I could easily translate into at least an awareness of when I first bring the knife up to use my breath first, like chop, 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 chop.
How would that translate to musically?
Chop, chop, chop. Like chopping. Chop, chop, chop,